coach has won more games in his first 3 years in Eugene than Dan Lanning. And now he's got a new quarterback to find. The former five-star recruit to UCLA, Dante Moore. Is it his time? Or is it the former four-star Austin Novosad in a quarterback battle? On defense, Bryce Betcher returns, one of the leading tacklers in the Big Ten, as the Oregon Ducks try to defend their Big Ten crown. It's time for the Oregon spring football game here from Autzen Stadium on the Big Ten Network. Hi, everybody. Welcome along with Yogi Roth. I'm Guy Haberman. Year one in the league last year for Oregon. They won it. So they're trying to defend their crown with a very different roster.
Look, the bottom line here in Eugene, it's not about rebuilding. No. It's about reloading. Yes, they lost a ton of productivity that has hurt their name pretty much all weekend long in the NFL draft, but they've recruited well. They've supplemented in the transfer portal, and they're hungry. They want to defend this title. They feel as though this season they can do just that.
2 years ago, Bo Nix, the most experienced starting quarterback in college football history, only to have his record broken by Dillon Gabriel last year. Now the other side of the coin. These two guys have a combined 5 career starts, and they were all for Dante Moore 3 years ago.
Well, for both of these guys, they got to be in the room with Bo Nix. Austin Novosad spent the entire time with him since he's been here in Eugene. Dante Moore showed up last year, got to learn from Dillon Gabriel. These two quarterbacks, they're similar, though. They're both pro-style passers. They can be pure down the field in terms of their accuracy with the football. Both stand about 6'3", 205, 210. They have mastery around the system. The challenge is, how do you do when the lights are bright? And that's what today is all about. It'll be vanilla on offense, but how do they handle situations? How do they navigate the line of scrimmage? All things you want to pay attention to as the spring game is moments away.
Energy is sky high. We're going to hear from Dan Lanning with Kenyon Barner down on the field coming up next. And we get our first look at the Big Ten's defending champs. Just about ready for the Oregon spring football game, and the pageantry of a regular season game. You got to have a motorcycle, and you got to have the duck. Take a look at the game format. Normal game scoring, 4 quarters, running clock. It'll be the black jerseys against the white jerseys, the team names, the Combat Ducks, the Fighting Ducks. They've split the teams up to what they think will be an even matchup. Down on the field, Kenyon Barner, the 3-time Super Bowl champion, the All-American, is here for us today. And here's his conversation moments ago with Dan Lanning.
Coach, appreciate your time. Thanks for taking it. What about this environment? How are you feeling today?
That's the one thing that makes Oregon so great, right? We've got unbelievable fans that are pouring in the stadium. They're going to get to enjoy a great spring game today.
Absolutely. Tell me a couple of things you're expecting to see out of the guys.
I just want to see aggressive play. I want to see guys making full-speed plays. You know, there's going to be some mistakes made. That's okay. Go out here and play football. Show us what you can do.
Super excited to see this new team, what they're going to look like. Tell me about the leadership and how that's development throughout the locker room.
Yeah, that's something you're growing every single day. And I don't care if you're a freshman or a senior. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody can lead. So we're going to look for some of that leadership to show up today.
Last question. You got some pads and a helmet for me?
Yeah, I'd love to put you in pads and a helmet right now. I do got a throwback kicks for Rich Brooks, man. I'm wearing the old schools.
I like them.
But I would love to get you pads and a helmet today. That made me feel really good.
I appreciate you, Coach. Take care. Have a good one.
Oh, my God.
All right, and there are the throwback Nikes for Rich Brooks, one of the honorary captains today, the great Oregon coach of the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. And that's a good look.
On Rich Brooks Field, apropos. And I'll tell you what, Kenyon speaks for anybody who's ever played this game. You're in this stadium, in this environment, you just feel the juice, right? Like you want to go play again. Whatever it takes, Coach, get Kenyon a rep in.
Still got that 4.5 40.
Yeah.
We'll find out. So the specialists, we'll see the quarterbacks maybe play for both teams today, but the teams have been split up, and Dan Lanning said we're just trying to get the most competitive game out of both these groups, the final spring practice for the defending champs. And they've had a lot of live action in practice. As you can see, the special teams is just to kind of wrap up to thud. The quarterback's not live today, Yogi, but they have been at times during spring ball this season.
Well, it's a huge question you have to answer is who's going to be the next starter. The last 2 starters are now in the National Football League, and taking the field first here is Austin Novosad out of Dripping Springs, Texas. 3rd season here at Oregon. Hasn't played a ton, but you talk to the staff, and Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, he has been in the playbook preparing like a starter since the moment he arrived.
He's going to throw it here to start this game and take a long shot to the sideline, and it's broken up. He was looking for the guy that everybody has their eyes on, number 1, DeCorian Moore. This is maybe the best immediate impact freshman of the Lanning era on offense.
Yeah, you talk to people around the country and then hear the staff, and you hear comps to other freshmen, right? Jeremiah Smith had a huge freshman year last year. They get down in Alabama, and Ryan Williams, huge freshman year. Can he have that impact? He's got a chance if he continues to develop.
A handoff here to Jaden Lamar, who returns and adds some depth to the running back room. And he's got a first down pushed out of bounds by Dylan Thieneman. And Thieneman is another guy. He just had the pass break up on the first play of the game, and that's an instant impact defender.
Yeah, watch his change of direction, slips a little bit, and then he just does what he's done his entire career at Purdue, just a ball hawk. Right? He can play the deep safety, play out in the box. He is physical, and he has elevated the standard in that room in the secondary.
Novosad cuts it loose again, looking for Moore again, and Moore brought it in. The unanimous number 1 receiver in the 2025 class. They told us this week he's been as advertised, and we see it on display.
How about the end of it? The subtle nudge to separate. Right, watch his left arm just a little bit to get away from the DB. Beautiful job getting away from the other transfer in Theron Johnson.
Theron Johnson in from Northwestern, and there's a great defensive play from Ashton Porter, the redshirt sophomore.
So let's just remind everybody and set the stage. A lot of teams around the country have canceled their spring game. A huge reason why Dan Lanning hasn't is because what we're seeing now, players that have never performed in this type of environment get a chance. DeCorian Moore showing out in his first 5 snaps as a Duck.
Austin Novosad happy to have him on his team. He's taken 2 big shots to him. And he'll go back to the ground now for Lamar, who breaks into space and scores a touchdown. Jaden Lamar had 25 carries last year for Oregon.
It's a beautiful job from Novosad. Watch him just hold on the fake. Read the edge defender. Going to be a give. Nice job blocking down by that offensive line. And Lamar does the absolute rest. Matthew Bedford there on the offensive line blocking down. Impressive job by him as well. And this is a running back room that returns Noah Whittington, but there's a ton of productivity that needs to be replaced.
Same kicking situation for Oregon as last year. Atticus Sappington handling the point afters, and that kick is good. Andrew Boyle handling the kickoffs and the deeper field goals. And here's some of the offseason storylines. You mentioned it, replacing a ton of production on offense and defense and leadership. The quarterback battle, which we'll talk about all day. A fantastic and elite transfer class. And we've already seen one of the very talented freshmen, DeCorian Moore, making an impact.
Well, let's just start up top. We'll work our way throughout the broadcast. Dan Lanning knows what he has to replace. And the number 1 trait within his program is connection. So they had a 2-day clinic on leadership where on a Friday, they had every junior and senior go over to Dan Lanning's house and spend time and establish standards of how they want to lead this program. The next day, they had all freshmen and sophomore come do the same thing. They walked out of there and said, okay, we have some ownership around that. And I think it's amazing because that pedigree, that experience is exactly something that can empower players that they know they have to replace so many guys who've been hearing their names all weekend long in the NFL.
There was a great note on that graphic at the bottom, though. Same head coach, same defensive coordinator, same offensive coordinator. They've all received contract extensions, deservedly so. As Noah Whittington lets that go over his head. It's only the 1 of 2 programs in the league that have the same head coach, DC and OC, for 3 straight years, the other being Illinois. Just year 4 for Dan Lanning. And, he's gone veteran, transfer portal, quarterback. The previous 2 years, Dante Moore came in last year, sat, watched Dylan Gabriel, and now he has his chance. And this is a special prospect that we're about to see here.
Well, look, we called a bunch of his games when he was at UCLA, and I remember talking to him in advance of him making a decision on where he was going to go next. And he said, I want to just go and really be developed. Right? I want to go and just spend time learning from elite coaches, elite minds. And he was thrust into the action when he was down in Westwood. Now he got to bide his time and take a run at this job as he drops back.
And he cuts loose, wide open. Kenyon Sadiq with the catch. And Kenyon Sadiq, we're talking about a guy that Ducks coaches think could be one of the best players in college football this year.
Well, look, beautiful footwork and just effortless to flick it out there from Dante Moore. And then you're right in Sadiq. I mean, this is a guy who might have 80 touches this fall. They're going to find a variety of ways to get him the rock. Has a chance to be one of the most explosive players in the country. Now, he's a guy, I think we'll hear his name this time next year if he does what he's very capable of doing.
For more on Dante Moore, let's go down to Kenyon on the field.
All right, guys, listen. I had the opportunity to be around these guys for the last 3 weeks, and I got to up-close look at Dante. This dude's ability to change his arm angles and make throws, he reminds me he has a lot of Aaron Rodgers in his game. This dude is really talented, and this team is lucky to have him.
There's Noah Whittington with the carry. Well, that's not a that's not, you're not going to have 50% on that comp when you go Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you meet him in high school. I can remember coming to the Elite 11 quarterback camp. Both he and Austin were at it. And Dante, he's right. He's just effortless. He can just flick it. But most importantly, when he does, it's beautiful location on the ball. I think that's one of his biggest unique traits is the type of passer. Right there is a great example. You think it's an easy 5-yard completion, but where the ball is located, away from the defender, still an easy catch for Kenyon Sadiq. Those are the things that Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel did in terms of the accuracy. Here's the throw. It's a great shot at it. Boom. Watch where the location of the ball. Right outside, easy catch. You don't have to leave your feet. Those are the things that allow this offense to be dramatically efficient. And the winner of this quarterback battle, and Kenyon's been here for a couple weeks, he knows it, it's the most efficient quarterback who could lead them down the field to score points. It's that simple, but there's so many elements that go within that of navigating the line of scrimmage, etc. You see another drop back.
A little miscommunication there with Kyle Casper.
Yeah, look, I absolutely didn't go halfway with that comp. The dude is talented. Probably one of the more talented quarterbacks that they've had, and that's saying a lot. They've had Dylan Gabriel. They've had Bo Nix. But this dude's arm is different. He is different.
You know, thinking of the Duck quarterbacks last 10, 15 years, he's in the conversation as a pure passer with Justin Herbert. And when it comes out, it's effortless. And I think what's great about him now is that he really feels like a veteran. He's got command of this thing. And it's been great competition all spring between he, Austin Novosad, and that entire room.
Kyle Casper, who missed most of last season with an injury, with that catch. The chance to study behind Dylan Gabriel. I mean, it was funny talking to Will Stein. He said he's fun-loving like Dylan, but he also has that same laser focus that Bo Nix had the year before. And he stepped into that leadership role. On third down here. With pressure, directing traffic, and did Noah Whittington keep his feet in bounds? No, he didn't. Incomplete.
Well, here's the deal. When it comes to quarterback play, Guy, you got to understand the strength of every play, what causes stress on every play, and then the situation. That was a 3rd and 5 situation, one they'd want to have back. Those are the moments throughout the development of a quarterback's career and really in this competition that Will Stein's going to be able to nitpick on and say, all right, could you give it to him real quick on the little flare? And he extended it. Could Whittington could have come back a little earlier? Those are the fun parts they'll look at the film at once they check this thing out after practice.
Gage Hurrick is going to get the chance at this field goal. And he's got it. You notice the sun came out just as this game started.
You know the phrase, it never rains in Autzen.
That's right. Famous words of Don Essig, the public address announcer here. Take a look at the production lost from last year. 99% of the passing yards, 67% of the rushing yards, most of those from Jordan James, who got drafted today. 64% of the receiving yards, the tackles, and 3/4 of the interceptions.
Well, a big part of that, is obvious in Dylan Gabriel, but I think of the offensive line. and I think of the guys in the interior of the defensive line. And that's where you win a Big Ten championship. I mean, so many guys, right? Josh Connolly heard his name in the first round of the NFL draft. Johnny Cornelius, another guy, these two massive tight ends, and Terrence Ferguson and Patrick Herbert, just big parts of the run game and what they are. So they had to reload there. And boy, did they reload with some size. Let's stick with those big offensive linemen. Isaiah World, 6'8", 303. That is a large human being. Emmanuel Pregnon, you know him from being at USC in Wyoming, 6'5", all of 320. I mean, they're huge humans. Alex Harkey, 6'6", 336. I think on the offensive line, it's just all about time, right? And I think when you look at their offensive line coach in Alik Terry, somebody that everybody's in around him, just rave about how he teaches the craft. Saw Alex Forsythe, the alum, down on the field in pregame, now with the Broncos. Excited to watch some of these new big men up front try to reclaim or repeat as Big Ten champs.
Very similar to what we see at Ohio State, where you've got most of the offensive and defensive lines, the front seven, the second. Here the whole secondary's gone. You know, they got a quarterback battle there as well, obviously, but it'll be interesting. Those top 25 the preseason start coming out, and expect to see these guys near the top. Isaiah World, the feeling for him is that this time next year he will have spent a couple days already drafted if all goes to plan this season.
Yeah, well, you look at just that. Look at that offensive line, that side right there. Him at the tackle position, at the center position. Pancho, Lalaulu, really, the anchor of this offensive unit's mentality.
Dewan Riggs getting his first carry of the day. A redshirt freshman from D.C. Here's World.
And then look at the center, Pancho, 72, right in the middle of the screen. And blocking down is Matthew Bedford, 77. He's the transfer 7th-year player from Indiana. I mean, another just massive body. And look, that's the reality in the Big Ten and in major college football. You're going to win in the playoff. You've got to be able to compete at the lines of scrimmage.
Pressure here up the middle, flushes Novosad out, and he throws it away. That was Terrence Green, who played in 7 games last year for Oregon, creating that pressure. Big number 99. Yeah, talking to Tosh Lupoy, the defensive coordinator, he said there was just. You hear the referee announcement, but he said there's so much extra on most of these guys who now step in from a partial role to a starting role. That's not the case for Mateo Uiagalelei, who was an immediate impact player as a freshman 3 years ago here at Oregon and has just kept it rolling. One of the most disruptive players returning to the league, and that is snagged by Dylan Gresham, the redshirt freshman who was a consensus 4-star redshirted last year, and he makes that catch.
And look at Mateo Uiagalelei, All-American candidate. He's got, to your point, a tremendous ceiling. Can he play both ways? Remember, as a freshman, it was a little bit of tight end, a little bit of defensive end. He's got that ability to be a true game wrecker for Tosh Lupoy and this defense. And he is the vet now. He and Tatum Tuioti, they are the standard there. And Tosh Lupoy talking to him, was very honest with them, very clear of there's no time for misalignments. Like, you have to be perfect. You have to be the standard. And they've loved it. He and Tatum, they came in together, and now they are two of the most formidable edge rushers in the entire country, and they have depth. And I really like the depth. Blake Purchase, Ashton Porter, Elijah Rushing was a huge recruit a year ago. Does he have an impact? They bring in some young guys as well, which will be fun to watch them continue to compete at the edge position. And they'll need to. They'll need to get off the ball and try to create a little havoc in the backfield.
Taking a hit and keeping on going. The Trey McNutt, the freshman, comes up. The consensus top 5 safety makes that hit on Dewan Riggs. There's so much young talent on this defense. We saw the tackle on the previous play by Braden Platt. The inside linebacker, handful of redshirt freshmen there. They're competing.
Hopefully it'll be soon.
5-man pressure, and Novosad is able to get that one near the sticks. Jamari Johnson, the tight end, the transfer from Louisville, another guy at the top of the list of players to watch today.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time, right? Like football has this cycle, and tight ends for Oregon have always been a thing, but really around the country now they're getting vogue again. I know that excites Jake Butt back in Chicago, and the depth here for the Ducks at that position with the addition that you just referenced in Johnson. You got some younger players as well. You're going to allow them and Will Stein really to have a bunch of different personnel groupings. 2 tight ends, 1 tight end, 3 tight ends, move them in the backfield. And we saw Kenyon Sadiq against Penn State move all over the place. I mean, maybe Zach Grace as a fullback at times. So I love what they've done. Dan Lang with that position. You knew when he got the job here it was going to be a physical out. That's what his career has really been based on everywhere he's been. He's been around offensive minds that have tried to win and dictate terms on the line of scrimmage.
Novosad setting up the screen, and that gets sniffed out immediately. He was getting it to Zach Grace. Bryce Betcher all over it, and Jerry Mixon as well. Mixon the junior.
It's great to see Jerry Mixon getting an opportunity here. You know, you lose Jeffrey Bossa. He's the green dot guy. He's the communicator with the helmet. They got to replace that type of communicator. Bryce Betcher, he's got a huge, obviously, opportunity to be that guy on this defense.
Cooper Perry, the much anticipated freshman receiver, is in the slot at the bottom of the screen. And he's another guy that they say has been as advertised in the passing game. Novosad was looking his way, instead goes outside, and it's broken up. Dylan Gresham was the man he was trying to get it to, and Theron Johnson was all over it. Well, Rich Brooks, the legend, his name is on this field, and he's one of the honorary coaches today. Had a great career here, and he's down on the field with Kenyon.
Thanks, guys. As you said it, I'm here with the legendary Coach Brooks. Coach Brooks, you've seen a lot of these spring games. Tell me what you see from the guys.
Well, they're flying around trying to make plays. I'm a little disappointed in our defensive effort. My backs are looking very good, and there's some good hitting going on out there.
They're out there laying that wood a little bit. Tell me what you would do differently with the defensive side of the ball.
Well, I might bring a little more pressure.
You want to fire the quarterback up?
Yeah, light him up.
I understand. I appreciate you, Coach Brooks. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
You take a look back at his career. 1977 and 1994, part of what jump-started what you now know as Oregon football and the juggernaut it became. When he took him to the Rose Bowl in '94, it was just the second time the program been to the Rose Bowl since 1920. It then became a common thing, but it was not the case at the time. I asked him today on the field, so is there anything here that's the same as when you were here from a facility standpoint? And he said, no, we used to do position meetings in that tunnel on crooked wooden tables. He still lives in the area and loves being a part of this program and has done great things here. So it's cool to have him as one of the honorary coaches. He and Bucky Irving are coaching the Combat Ducks. Nick Aliotti, the legendary defensive coordinator, and Christian Gonzalez are coaching the Fighting Ducks. And, of course, we send our best today to Mike Bellotti, who had an incredible career, a college football Hall of Famer as a head coach here. He was scheduled to be one of the honorary coaches today, had a small medical emergency. He's recovering. Hopefully he's watching. Coach Bellotti, we miss you today. We'd love to see you here today. Hopefully we'll see you around here soon. And we're thinking of you, and get well soon.
You know, it's amazing about all the names that you referenced. Coach Brooks, Coach Bellotti, Coach Aliotti. They spent so much time here in this community with this program. And then there was this era where there was a few different coaches that would just rotate every couple of years. When Dan Lanning got the job, again, he was an outsider. Those guys all kind of came up through the system.
Right.
And from the fan base perspective, the alumni, I can remember Joey Harrington, and they would pen a letter. They penned a letter to the athletic department and say, we want somebody who understands what we are about, what this region is about. I see Dante Moore. Up the location there. Out of bounds.
Oh, it was a great catch.
Great catch. But the point,
Gary Bryant Jr. there.
Good to see him back as well. The point is that when Dan Lanning got the job, he went around this state. He talked to so many alums. And after they spent about 7 minutes with Dan Lanning, maybe 7 seconds, they were like, yep, he gets what we are all about. Look at the eyes from Bryant. He's got a chance to really replace that production from Tez Johnson. But the point is that, like, the ethos of Coach Brooks and Coach Bellotti and Coach Aliotti meets that of Dan Lanning. What did they tell us on the field? They said, he's special, and they're pointing at Dan Lanning. He's a guy who really wants to be here. Glad he got the extension you referenced. And as he always says, the grass, pretty damn green here in Eugene.
Well, it's a great point. You think about the history. Rich Brooks When he left, Mike Bellotti was promoted from within. Then Bellotti becomes the athletics director here. Chip Kelly, who is his offensive coordinator, takes over. Then Mark Helfrich takes over for him. And, then before Dan Lanning, the last two coaches came from outside the program. And so maybe there was some hesitation. He made such an immediate impact and positive impression, Dan Lanning, that he's become one of them real fast.
Well, I just go back to those DNA traits. That's what he said the first time he got the job here. Connection, growth, toughness, and sacrifice. But the connection is one in the transient world of college football. You got to pour into. He does it as well as anyone in the sport.
Ross James back as the punter for Oregon this year, the only punter on the roster right now. And it'll be good starting field position for the Fighting Ducks after that punt. Once they broke ground and started building here in Eugene, I don't think they've stopped in 3 decades. And this is the new practice facility that is under construction there just beyond the black building. There's the team offices. The weight room is in that black building. It opens up. The doors open up to the dirt you see there, which used to be the practice fields and will be again soon.
That'll be a beautiful indoor facility under construction. The 2-point Mo is what they call it. They've also renovated Hayward Field, which is the world's finest track and field stadium. It's a really cool town to be in for sport, and really for Rob Mullings, their athletic director, since he's gotten here. He's been here 15 years, guy. I mean, the standard just continues to rise.
Luke Moga, the freshman, first look at him, the quarterback, and he can't connect there with Cooper Perry, another freshman. The redshirt freshman is Moga. Perry's the true freshman, and Will Stein really likes the potential of Luke Moga, the redshirt freshman from Phoenix, Arizona.
I was here last year for the spring game. It was kind of the Luke Moga show, just showcasing his athleticism. It's really impressive. But what he has worked on is being a pocket passer throughout this spring, and he throws every ball as you need to with just tremendous confidence. Good opportunity for here in the pistol.
Oh, this is fun now. Mekhi Hughes, you saw him on the list of big-time transfers earlier from Tulane. This young man was a Doak Walker semifinalist last year, 10th in the nation in rushing, a freshman All-American 2 years ago, and now the Ducks add him to the fold. 1 quarter done here at the Oregon spring game.
Some people just know they could say.
Follow them to the party. There's no doubt. The party's here right now. The Oregon spring game. See live final round coverage in the 2025 Big Ten Men's Golf Championships tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Well, Luke Moga, we just saw his arm on display a little bit as we start the second quarter. And what did Will Stein say? He wants to see him make the routine play today. That's the key for this young redshirt freshman. When you hear that about a quarterback, you know it means he's got the ability to make the special play.
Well, he's done that throughout his career. And how about that little run right there behind Poncho? Again, that's Mekhi Hughes behind the center, Poncho Ulu, who's really the anchor of this offensive front.
Moga wants to throw again.
This is what he does right here.
Easy speed.
He's a rare
for the first
athlete.
down.
Guy, he's a 10-4 100-meter dash. He was second in his high school state meet coming out of Arizona. Really talented athlete. And look, every quarterback has their comfort zone, and I think for him it's that athleticism. And here's a good look at one of the top transfers in the entire country. Mekhi Hughes transferred from Tulane. Talked to a couple coaches that had to face him a year ago, and they were physical, downhill, punishing back. Saw that there on the run.
10th in the nation in rushing yards last year, over 1,400 yards for Hughes, who gets tracked down by Mateo Uiagalelei there, who was first-team All-League himself last year. But the accolades are just off the charts. He's one of the top players in the portal. You see what he did, first-team All-AAC, 15 rushing touchdowns. And, we talk about it, but, you're replacing Jordan James. There's a lot of rushing yards out there to be had. Jordan James was 54% of Oregon's rushing yards, also ran for 15 touchdowns last year.
I just want to see him and number 14, Naeem Offord, head-to-head. The two brothers. He's playing defense right now.
Moga puts it up, and it's broken up. Was looking for the tight end, Johnson. And Trey McNutt, second time the freshman's made a play. McNutt comes in with a lot of attention as well from Cleveland. 4-star, one of the top safeties in the nation. His dad, Richard McNutt, was on the 2002 Ohio State National Championship team.
God, how impressive is that, though? McNutt's about 6 feet, no slouch. But Jamar Johnson's 6'5", and the timing of the jump, when to make a play in the red zone. Here's another one.
And that is right into the hands of DeCorian Moore. And he's soundly tackled by Zach Grisham.
But this is the area right here. If you're a young player in the tight red zone, this is a challenge as a quarterback. It's a challenge in the secondary, especially when you're young. Timing, you don't have a ton of time to waste. Like, the ball is out. So nice job there by the young secondary, back-to-back plays to force the field goal attempt.
The scoring in a spring game looks a lot more regular when you break it into two teams.
Thank you.
When a sack isn't worth 7 points. Andrew Boyle. And it makes it easier on the graphics department. That's
they appreciate that in the truck.
Boyle's getting his chance here. And it is good. Well, here's the Oregon schedule. Open up with Montana State and Oklahoma State at home. Gordon Northwestern, then a big rivalry game with Oregon State. And then at Penn State. That is a chock-full first 5 weeks.
Well, it's not going to be easy, especially in the Big Ten, but I love how it lays out for the Ducks and Dan Lanning. We get a bye after those first 5 that you referenced. Then they get 3, and then they finish it off with a stretch. And last year, that's not what they had, right? There was a stretch of just, I think it was 8 straight conference games where they had to go, pedal down, and you're tested every single week. So I think for a team that has to replace a lot, the bye allows you to breathe, reset, reposition, move some players around, decide who's going to redshirt, who's going to play. Those are huge elements as a long season evolves for Dan Lanning's staff.
You go back to last year, the Big Ten champs, #1 in the nation, beat Penn State, went into the playoff as the #1 seed before getting upset in the Rose Bowl by the eventual national champs, Ohio State. But what a statement first year in the league it was for Oregon.
I can remember being on the floor of that stadium at Lucas Oil in Indianapolis, and it was like, wow, first year went undefeated, handled some huge brands, right? The defending national champions. They went to Ann Arbor and got a win. Of course, they beat Ohio State at home. And it was just a huge statement that I don't think a lot of people really thought would become a reality. You knew the Ducks were talented, but I think coming into that league, you think, there might be a little bit of an adjustment, the travel, etc. Dan Lanning, master motivator. I mean, you just go to YouTube and just watch Ducks versus them. Anything that they've done from a creative standpoint, congrats to that creative team as they were nominated for almost 20 Emmys for that.
Is he going to get mic'd up in the locker room at halftime again this year?
I don't know, but I'll watch any of the content for him. And you just see the development, and not only the record, but then players drafted, right, since year 1. Just continues to grow. There's a chance by the end of today they'll set a new Oregon record. They set a record for the most players drafted in the first 2 days. The first 3 rounds of the NFL draft under Dan Lanning. And that's why I think when you see a lot of teams lose all their productivity, they go to the portal for a ton of replacements. That did not happen. There's so many second-year players, like Peyton Woodyard. He's a second-year player. He's the only guy to really get a ton of burn as a true freshman. But there's so many redshirt freshmen at linebacker, in the back end, second-year players at wide receiver or tight end, running back. They're going to have a role because they just continue to identify and then develop.
That pass is batted and still caught by Kenyon Sadiq. It was Blake Purchase who was able to get his hand on it, and then Sadiq made the catch. I know from Kenyon's pregame interview with Dan Lanning, he's easily motivated by Coach because you already volunteered to come back and play today.
Listen, I sat in those team meetings each and every day for the last 3 weeks, and typically when coaches come in there, they have something, they tell you what you're doing for the day, and they get out of there. Each and every day for the last 3 weeks, every morning, Dan Lanning is coming in there with some sort of motivational piece to get these guys motivated and ready for the day. It's absolutely crazy. I didn't know a man could have that much good stuff to say.
Wow. That's pretty good. Anything, Kenyon, anything that you kind of take with you as you, after 3 weeks in Eugene, anything you take with you kind of, repeat back to yourself as a motivation you take from the Dan Lanning book these last few weeks?
Dan came in and told him one day it's always on the line no matter what you do in life, whether it's on the field, in the classroom, at home, in a relationship, it's always on the line. The day you slack off is the day you lose. And so when he said that, it hit me. Me being a married man, it's always on the line for me. So I had to take that with me, and I told my wife, baby, I got you.
That's awesome.
I love that. And Kenyon Barner, of course, in meetings with Bill Belichick, right, and many others.
Won 3 champions, won 3 Super Bowls.
That's right. For a bunch of different teams there.
That's a great point. Brock Thomas is the quarterback for the first time on this drive for Oregon.
Brock Thomas, let's give him some shine. The high school Oregon fan, Sheldon High School, right? Of course, the Herbert family, Justin and Patrick, coming from that same high school. He's a passer. He processes extremely well. Will Stein said he kind of reminds me of me back in the day at Louisville as a quarterback, walk-on turned starter.
He's a third-generation Duck as well. He throws that through the hands of Jay Harris. Speaking of Brock Thomas, didn't appear last year, played in a couple games in 2023 as a redshirt here at his hometown team. Now 2nd down and 10 coming up for him.
Keep an eye on Gary Bryant in the slot at the bottom of the screen. Gary Bryant's story is one that I think will inspire a lot of people because I know it's inspired this team. Transferred from USC, had big aspirations, gets injured, and just had to attack the rehab. Kind of like what Kenyon Barner just said, like didn't miss a day, didn't miss a moment. And his presence, the receivers would say it elevated the room last year. And now you're replacing the 2 of your top receivers in Tez Johnson and Trayshawn Holden. And he has been the standard. He talked to the team after a scrimmage, hey, it's not good enough today. He's that veteran voice within this offense.
And a sack. And that's good pressure there from Elijah Rushing, the guy you mentioned earlier, Yogi, a list of players who maybe didn't play a lot last year. He played in 4 games and redshirted, but he came in with a lot of anticipation in 2024.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 251 pounds. And what's changed over the last year is the lean muscle he's added to his frame. The strength department under Wilson Love does as good a job as anybody. And just the development of the edge rushers. Again, I go back, look at Coach Allen. He was coaching them up down there on the sideline, the legendary defensive coordinator here in Eugene. I'm sure he has one little note to give everybody. I'll feel his energy today.
Nick Eliotti and Christian Gonzalez, 2 defensive guys coaching. They're going to call plays. If you're wondering what are the honorary coaches doing, they're calling plays in the 3rd quarter today. Tosh Lupoy and Will Stein put together some play sheets for him. Later tonight, Danny Busboom Kelly makes her Nebraska coaching debut when the Huskers take on Kansas. It's spring volleyball. There have been some premier matchups here on the Big Ten Network. That's tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. So Luke Moga back out. There's Nick Eliotti. We talked to him on the field before the game. He just kept hitting Dan Lanning in the chest and telling us this guy's a superstar. He's as good as it gets. And he's seen some great football. That's a nice touch from Luke Mogan. Will Stein's going to be pleased with that throw. Made what was maybe supposed to be easy look easy to Jaden Lamar.
The accuracy when you're throwing to backs is just critical so they can just catch it on the run. And a huge part of Coach Aliotti, we saw Haloti Nada down on the field in pregame. It was his development of interior defensive linemen. And that's an area that Oregon knows they have to replace after last season.
Moga taking a shot, and it is dropped by Malik Benson, the transfer from Florida State, Alabama before that. And he could not hang on.
Well, this is a great route. The end of the route is really impressive from Benson. A little bit of competition, a little hand combat, and then at the end, watch his eyes. They go away from the ball. That's a great shot right there. Always tell wideouts, you got to catch it with your eyes, especially one of those that are a little bit high when you're flying down the field. You're banging against a DB. They like Benson's potential. Can he be that replacement for Trayshawn Holden and all the productivity that he had?
Moga going back the other way, and it is caught. Wow. Right in the bucket. Dylan Gresham, the consensus 4-star receiver in the 24 class, redshirted last year, and a highlight reel catch.
How about this? We talked about second-year players. He is one of them. You'll see it. And how about Luke Moga? Just 2 dimes back-to-back, saying, oh, yeah, I'm not just an athlete, I'm a passer, too. Elevating the competition. And Gresham also reminding people he's there. Really talented freshman class of wideouts. Nice play by him down the sideline.
And that's on Darren Johnson. This is a guy that played a ton. He was 3rd on the team at Northwestern last year, the defensive back in tackles, had a couple of picks. And Johnson stride for, I mean, this is good coverage, isn't it, from Darren Johnson?
I love just the little things. Any little grab there from Johnson on the jersey and shoulder pads. And look, I know we're not even a half in, but these receivers, the little things that they've done today are really impressive.
Moga, that is batted away. Ashton Porter, the redshirt sophomore outside linebacker, able to knock that down. Now, what did Tosh Lupoy say about this defensive line? He was talking about Amari Washington, among others, but he said the standard is just different. What's acceptable when you're a rotational defensive lineman is different than what's acceptable when you become a starter.
Bear Alexander there competing to be one of those guys that can replace 2 absolute studs, Jamari Caldwell and Derek Harmon, who are off to the NFL.
Bear Alexander lined up there up against the left guard as Moga is on the move, and this time able to hang on is Malik Benson.
You know, the quarterback game is one that's really evolved, right? Like, it used to be back in the day, pocket passers, like think Dan Fouts, and now it's really, can you be dual threat? You've got to be able to play a second, third reaction game. Luke Moga right now, look at his command. He knows the plays, he knows the offense. There's Bear Alexander. He's trying to run away from guys like Bear as they're trying to get into the backfield.
Here's Lamar, and he is hounded, bottled up, and brought down. It was Ashton Porter again, the first man in the backfield. A couple of the active players that are honorary captains today. Bucky Irving, all-rookie team last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Christian Gonzalez, second-team All-Pro for the Patriots, and they're down on the field with Kenyon.
Thank you, fellas. Here with Bucky Irving, Christian Gonzalez. Listen, both of you guys have been doing your thing in the league this year. We got Tampa's first 1,000-yard rusher since 2016, Doug Martin. How'd that make you feel, my guy?
I mean, it felt amazing. I mean, I get all credit to them guys up front. They did a great job all year with welcoming me in, and then they opened up the holes for me, and I just do what I do.
And you did it. Oh! We have to get up out of there. We're coming back. Appreciate you. Listen. So now, look, second team. First time in your career, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, it was good. Happy to get the award, but nowhere near started. Ready to get back to work.
I can tell by the smile on your face it made you happy. Now listen, there's been a lot of trash talk as we've been standing here. Bucky, I'm expecting a whole lot of run. What we doing in the run game?
We're gonna go a little gap skin, a little inside zone, but he better keep his corners wide awake because something coming for him.
Are we rushing the quarterback?
We sitting in the house. We like corners on the island. He better be ready.
All right, man. Well, look, good luck to both of y'all as y'all get ready for season coming up. Appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to some big plays and some sacks in this third quarter. Back to you guys.
All right. There you go. I mean, and Kenyon's right. I mean, the year that Bucky Irving, both those guys, put together, Bucky Irving, 1,000-yard rusher. He also caught 47 passes. They're going to call this a sack on Luke Moga. And then Christian Gonzalez, second-team All-Pro. Just both really representing Oregon well. And Oregon is pouring more guys into the NFL by the year.
What's impressive about both of them is they transferred here from other schools, and then they developed. They got better when they were here. I think it's easy to say, yep, certain schools just get transfers and it's plug and play. No, you still have to work. You still have to develop. You still have to play within a scheme. Bucky Irving in the run game, Christian Gonzalez, what he did in the back end. And then, of course, it kicked out to the National Football League. There's the guys that were drafted this weekend. Whew. Look at the talent there, man. Still going on. Derek Harmon, what a story with him. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful story. And obviously a ton of love out to him and his family. The passing of his mother.
And his mother, Tiffany, passed away after finding out the news. She'd been on life support and everything that, you think about the career he put together at Oregon while also dealing with that. It's just unimaginable and amazing that she was able to experience that moment with him before her passing. And, Dan Lane, look, there's no secret, Yogi. It's been like this forever. Guys want to come. They want to win. They want to be a part of something. But they also want a program that's going to help them get to the next level.
That's right. And I think that graphic was really impressive. You got guys like Derek Harmon and Jamari Caldwell that came here. And then Terrence Ferguson, who was like, I want to come on back because I want to do something special. I want to leave a legacy. I want to win a championship. He could have gone to the NFL last year, said no, and has left that legacy. And legacy, look, is a huge part of what college football is about. It's what we love, and that's what our quarterback now is. Akili Smith Jr., you know that name. True freshman out of San Diego, his first appearance as a Duck.
They call him KJ, and you talk about hype and anticipation and pressure and all that stuff, what it must be like to be Akili Smith Jr. here at Oregon.
This is the
but they love him. They love what he brings to the quarterback room and his potential.
They should. We had him at the Elite 11 this summer. This past summer, his dad was down there as well, and his dad was just being a dad, right? He knows the talent that his son has. It's raw, but when you talk to the coaching staff, his growth, his potential is through the roof. It's the most intricate position in all of sports, guy, as you know. It's a developmental position. What you cannot develop necessarily is the size and natural ability that he has. You see it right there with a throw to his tight end, a little stop route.
This is the part of spring football that Dan Lanning's really interested in, right? Because this is not a running clock. This is 2-minute offense, 2-minute operation. Wow.
Standing in the pocket.
And whistles.
It makes Coach Aliotti and Bucky Irving probably bring pressure, right? Is that what they said?
It was 26 years ago that Akili's dad was the number 3 overall pick from Oregon to Cincinnati. And he just flicks it.
Well, how about
complete to Jeremiah McClellan?
I mean, be a freshman and line it up in a 2-minute offense before the half, and you've got Tatum Tuioti to your right. How are you going to navigate this thing? And he just slides in the pocket, no problem, checks the ball down, and away he goes.
I'll say it again. Quarterback's not live today, as is usually the case when you're watching spring football. But they have been in the previous 2 scrimmages, and it's part of what you're talking about, Yogi, just without a lot of playing experience. And there's a sack, and getting there real quick was Blake Purchase. Dan Lanning just felt like he needed the quarterbacks to experience what that game is really like.
I think it's such an important decision, and most teams around the country are never going to have their quarterbacks get touched, but you've got to find out how do guys react. And it's so hard to tell. And you also don't want players who've been in a system. Austin Novosad, 3 years. Dante Moore here is his second spring. You don't want them feeling like real football is when you don't get touched, you get tagged off. Like, you have to feel like somebody's actually trying to tackle you, hit you, punish you. And he learned a ton from that scrimmage, and it's going to be a big part of the evaluation heading into fall camp. We'll see if they do it there.
I loved, Kenyon was talking about all the things he learned from Dan Lanning this week. I loved his team rules. He said, we have 2 team rules. Number 1, be respectful. Number 2, be on time. That's a shaked punt. It's going to give 40 seconds, but the offense going to have a great shot here coming up. But be respectful, be on time. Now, he said, now those are the rules. Then there are standards, and those are on the players to maintain.
And that was a big part of the kind of leadership meeting they had with this new group of players in the offseason. The upperclassmen took a day, went to the Lanning household. He's always having players over for fellowship and connection. Then the younger guys came over, did the same thing, and they walked out of there with the standards so they could uphold it. But most importantly, police one another. I mean, player-led teams in every sport are clearly the ones that have tremendous success, and they keep you accountable. And then that shows up on the field. So we'll see how it shows up here. You got, how about at center and tackle? I want to watch this one. Pancho Lalaulu against number 1 Bear Alexander.
Pressure, free up the middle, and a sack on Novosad, who had to get rid of that early. Gavin
Please reset
Nix.
the game clock to 36 seconds.
No relation.
3 seconds.
The inside linebacker, the true freshman from IMG Academy in Bradenton, the 4-star. The Christian Gonzalez, he's not calling defense yet, but
That was a misread, I think, on the offensive line. Miscommunication there, just a free rusher. And so much of this right now, to your point, for Dan Lanning and the coaching staffs on both sides, is creating this scenario and now navigating. How do you operate? You know, is it a bad penalty? Are you on the cadence, on the snap count? Here's Mateo Uyungale and company trying to cause some havoc. What's the communication like? And it's important to note, this isn't like your one O-line, one D-line. It's a mix and match.
And part of that, Yogi, is we don't know quite yet who the number one offensive line is, right? There's a couple position battles, particularly at right guard and right tackle going on. DeJuan Riggs with the carry.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious. And then the second part is what every team has to go through, which is you're going to be thrust into different scenarios all season long with injury.
Novosad, good pocket that time. Benson has it broken up. Getting a hand in, or maybe two. Naheem Offord, the true freshman from Birmingham, the 5-star. And the brother of Mekhi Hughes. And both of them having a good day so far.
Tell you what, it was the recovery speed that stood out to me. It looked like he was beat off the line of scrimmage, and that's why you get that ranking as a recruit, because you can close, because of your change of direction, your ability to play the ball late. Beautiful job by the freshman out of Alabama. I say it again, when you think about this class, Alabama, Ohio, I mean, they're all over the country coming to Eugene. Went down deep in SEC territory to get one of the more talented DBs in America.
Went to Florida, went to Texas. We haven't seen Dierre Hill yet, the freshman running back. He's from Illinois. So Sappington here with the longish field goal attempt. 46 yards. That's not longish, that's long. But plenty of leg. And he did not get it. So the defense for the Combat Ducks holds up after the bad punt. What have we seen from Austin Novosad so far today?
Well, really confident, clear mastery of the system. Kicked the party off his first play of today's spring game, incomplete, but came right on back 2 plays later. An absolute dime to that true freshman, to Corian Moore. Just playing confident from the pocket across the middle to Gresham, the young wide receiver. And I think that's what you want to see, right? Do you have confidence in the offense to play on time? I think a lot of times first-time starters, first-time players in this environment, you can hesitate, you can hold on the ball. Zero hesitation from the position. A huge part of what Will Stein wanted to see today from his quarterback room. Novosad, 4 of 8, almost 50 yards. And here comes Dante Moore for the final 10 seconds. What did they decide to do there? I'm sure they talked about the situation. You don't want a turnover. Are they trying to move the ball down the field?
Moore gets tagged and tackled and sacked. And that's Amari Washington, the guy who is going to have a much bigger role this year on the defensive line.
I think he's going to be the biggest sleeper in the interior defensive line in this league. People aren't really talking about him a ton. He learned from some really talented guys. He's bided his time. Almost 300 snaps last year. He'll play 500-600 this fall.
And a big sack for him to end the first half. The Fighting Ducks with a 10-3 lead here in the Oregon spring game on a gorgeous Saturday afternoon in Eugene. Is it fall yet?
Let's go. Come on.
Not quite, but it is halftime. Here on the... Time for the second half here of the Oregon spring football game, and the fan base in midseason form. Always a party here in Eugene. Been part of some of the fun of the new league, the expanded league last year. So many people getting chances to go places they hadn't gone before. You think about Ohio State's game here last year, what a party that was for these fans, and they got a big day today. Big baseball game about to start just across the walkway, and it's a great Saturday in the spring here in Eugene.
Tell you what, you talk to other staffs and players within the Big Ten that had to play here in Eugene. There's a constant note across those opponents as they said, this place, you don't realize how loud it is, how electric it can be. And that baseball field is going to be the same way, sold out here. That one will be coming up right after this spring game.
It'll be on Big Ten Plus, a top 15 baseball matchup. I mean, it is so close. The word is that Bryce Betcher, the linebacker for Oregon, star linebacker, one of the best tacklers in the league coming back this year. You know, he was a very good baseball player. He was drafted last year by the Houston Astros in the 13th round. After they lost the Rose Bowl, he said, I'm coming back. I got work to do. I'm not going to play baseball yet. And maybe he won't. I mean, he'll be a very good NFL prospect next year. But the word is he might go over and throw out the first pitch.
I love it.
But if he's not able, Yogi Roth is in the bullpen.
Gosh,
that's what I hear.
We're warming up here, man. Let's go. What a day. Sun is shining. Here comes the kickoff. Final 2 quarters of spring football.
You got to appreciate spring games when you get them. They are,
you ain't lying.
They're a dying breed. And this is a game broken into 2 teams. Dan Lanning said we broke the teams up. It's not the 1s versus the 2s. It's by they just want to get a good game today. And so we'll see what his group's got in the second half. Dan Lanning just turned 39 years old in his 4th year here at Oregon. And nobody in the history of this program has gotten off to a faster start in their first 3 years than Dan Lanning.
I love what he said. As long as he's the head coach here, they're going to have a spring game because it's such a big deal for this community. You see how they've showed out here today. Now, how do you show it after halftime? He's constantly preaching and teaching situations. So here comes the middle 8, right? The last 4 minutes of the first half, the first 4 minutes of the second half. Dante Moore rolls out as the starting quarterback.
And Dante Moore in the quarterback competition with Austin Novosad. You know, from the outside, everybody's saying, how can Dante Moore not win this job? But it is a competition. Justice Lowe with that catch, the redshirt junior from Portland, has a chance to make a big impact this year on Oregon's offense.
Well, you could argue the quarterback room in Eugene is as good as any in America. This is a nice job here from Dante Moore. Little RPO. Is he going to hand it off? Baits the D tackle in and around the edge. He's not the athlete Luke Moga is, but he's really dynamic with his feet. I mean, it's really impressive when you watch him play. Look at those feet right there as he drops back.
Kenyon Sadiq. Oh! Goes way up, and he gets the first down.
Well, the last time when they played the Big Ten Championship game, you saw that from Sadiq leaping over defender on his way to an explosive play against Penn State. And this is just such a gifted athlete. Woo! Look at that.
Well, 104 catches. That's what Tyler Warren had last year at Penn State. And it may not be 104 this year, but Will Stein thinks that this guy can really do damage this year. He told us 80 touches, 80 catches about for Kenyon Sadiq. That's the goal. And you just think about all the different ways that they can get him the ball. It's amazing, too. He played the most special team snaps on the team last year.
Yeah, he's one of the most explosive players in America. We were here last year for training camp. It was obvious. And he just bided his time. And he talked about this spring of what the quarterback room did for him, how he learned from Terrence Ferguson, how he's added some of his traits to his game.
Terrence Ferguson, who was a second-round pick by the Rams, one of 9 Oregon Ducks drafted in the 2025 draft, which is a new Oregon record. And so Sadiq stepping up, and that means the depth that he provided last year, now the room has to provide behind him.
Yeah, and he's the leading voice in that. So we've seen Jamari Johnson today, the transfer from Louisville at the tight end position. True freshman Vander Klug also gets into the mix. They got some nice depth there. Roger Saliapaga, just some guys battling back from injuries.
Dante Moore with time, and now he checks it down to De'Air Hill, the freshman, with his first touch of the spring game. This is what Kenyon Sadiq said this week about filling the shoes of Terrence Ferguson.
The standard Ferg set, but also the records that Ferg left here. Like every day, I remind myself that those are the goals that I want to hit. You know, he did a great job. And like I said, he competed every day, and he's like one of the best humans I've ever met. So just reaching that goal that he set, and like legacy at the end of the day, I just want people to, you know, see my name on those leaderboards and stuff and just remember who I was.
Dante Moore taking a shot and overshooting Jurian Dickey.
You know, an element of Terrence Ferguson's game that goes unnoticed is every day when he would leave the facility, as Dan Lanning shared with us this week, he would put his helmet on, strap it up, and then run from the facility all the way on his position on the practice field, signifying, like, I'm ready to go to work. He said this spring, It's the first time Kenyon Sadiq has done the same exact thing. Lanning actually tweeted a version of that after Terrence Ferguson got drafted by the LA Rams. Sadiq trying to continue the pedigree at tight end. And he's done everything in that regard. Will Stein, Drew Maringer, everybody's raved about his ability and really how he has become a voice within this scheme.
You know, since he arrived as a freshman from the state of Idaho, there's no doubt that this is where they hope the potential for him would lead. And he is somewhat representative of what's happened in this program. They have not had a starter leave in the transfer portal going into Dan Lanning's 4th year.
Yeah, they've seen the opportunity to develop and play. And at the end of the day, as college football continues to change, some things do remain the same, Guy. Of you want to be in a healthy environment where you feel as though you got a shot. And a big part of that is the honesty from this coaching staff.
Oh. The ball comes out and it's picked up, scooped by Blake Purchase. He is racing. Dante Moore, the quarterback, gets stiff-armed. And Dante might be saying, wait, that's a tackle if you get to touch me and I'm down. But Purchase, it's a fumble return for a touchdown.
How about this? Ball comes out really late. We'll see it there. Oh, beautiful tackle from the young DB. And then the speed of Purchase, pick it up, and away he goes. How about the end there? Dante Moore. That was Iffy Obadegu on the tackle. Perfect tackle. Shoulder on the ball. Purchase, scoop, and score. And this defense is based on relentless effort. You saw that there from the secondary and then the edge rusher.
Obadegu, another one of these youngsters, a redshirt freshman who didn't play, redshirted last year, a consensus 4-star in last year's class, and another guy that has a real chance to make an impact.
He's had a big-time spring. I think you talked about some of the guys in the back end complimenting. There's the guys up front all celebrating as they should. But I really like a lot of guys in the back end. You talked about Iffy. How about Kingston Lopa? 6'5", almost 200 pounds, range, length, and that is a theme when you talk about this secondary. They're replacing 5 guys that played a ton of football. They all have length. You know, last year, suitably undersized, I think, in the secondary.
They're all they're all under 6 feet.
Yeah, and now there's not anybody necessarily in that regard. Darren Johnson, the smallest one, listed at 5'11", but Jaleel Florence, 6'1". You've seen him in a red jersey today. Dakota Field, 6'2". Lopa, 6'5". Flowers, over 6 foot. You just kind of go up and down the list. Obadegu, 6'1". I mean, they have length and size.
I'm sorry, did you say Kingston Lopa's 6'5" at cornerback?
Yes.
Let's just hammer that one home.
Yeah, and he's had such a big spring. Talked to Verone McKinley, longtime Oregon Duck, ended up in the NFL. He spent some time here with the Ducks in the spring on the field in pregame, and he goes, that's the guy that stood out to me in the spring. He just had a heck of a spring practice. And the point is that there's opportunity. And guys in their second year in the system, they know the basics. They have really elevated last year on the scout team. Nobody just took the year off. Kingston Lopa saying that earlier this spring of really just trying to attack the opportunity.
Well, we mentioned the historic day for Oregon in the draft. 9 players taken. Derek Harmon, Josh Connolly go in the first round. Birch, then Jamari Caldwell after Terrence Ferguson. Dylan Gabriel goes to Cleveland at 94. Jordan James, Jeffrey Bassa, and Johnny Cornelius.
Every one of them, I just think development. Like they all got better when they got here over the course of a single season or multiple seasons. Jordan Birch being a great example of Johnny Cornelius. Jordan James. How about Jeffrey Bassa? He came in as a safety. Finds his way playing inside linebacker. His range, I think, is beautiful for the NFL. And a record. Whew.
Well, Noah Whittington, that's game speed, right? That's a guy that has played in big games before.
But overall, just to finish that point, a record number of players drafted. And I think this is just going to be a theme that continues on here for Dan Lanning as they continue to recruit and develop. And there's Noah Whittington. He chose to come on back. Became a father in the offseason. He goes, I want to be the kid when I'm at Oregon, the dad when I'm at home. And he's got a chance to be the bell cow in this offense.
That was a great line.
Yeah.
That was a great line. Of course, he came back from the injury last year. And it was so great to see him back. And the question let's go to the All-American. We got one. Let's ask him down on the field. Kenyon, what do you think of this running back room?
This is probably one of the deepest running back rooms that Oregon has. If you go from Noah Whittington to Jay Harrison to Dink at Riggs, if you go down to Jalen Lamar, even the young guys with Jordan Davis and Dier, this is literally probably one of the deepest rooms that I've seen. Anybody could beat a guy within this offense at that spot. It's going to be an exciting year for these guys.
Which is saying something. I mean, some things, it's funny how programs have traditions that continue even as coaches change. And dynamic running back rooms is a continued tradition here at Oregon.
Yeah, and I think to Kenyon's point, last night at midnight, the transfer portal closed. So this running back group is going to be the running back group moving forward. And I think to his point, the competitive cauldron that's developed there is one where guys want to be a part of it. Because they know if you play, you'll find your name called. You'll be one of the better backs in the Big Ten.
It's Aaron Flowers, the redshirt freshman, coming up to make the hit.
I think there's something to being a second-year player. I really do. Flowers is another example of that in the back end. Only played 9 snaps last year. Watch him finish, run through the tackles. These feet keep moving. We haven't seen one DB just dive at ankles today. They are running through the tackle. Big part of spring in individual period for this program has been not just wideouts just being by themselves or DBs being by themselves. They've used that part of practice to be against one another. The staff said it has proven to pay off in major dividends.
Third down here for Moore, under pressure, and he gets sacked. Will Stratton, the inside linebacker, was the first man there. Early, basically the whole freshman recruiting class, all but 3 came in early here and enrolled at Oregon.
Yeah, that's just going to be the era that we're in now in college football. If you don't, you kind of miss an opportunity to really get up to speed. We've seen DeCorian Moore. Cooper Perry is a guy who got a ton of play. And then, of course, these running backs that reference Jordan Davidson and company.
Jordan Davidson, the #1 running back out of the state of California.
They call him little Jerome Bettis based on his size and ability. But Hill is the home run hitter.
The punt game is an area where there is a competition. DeCorian Moore there. Tez Johnson was so sure-handed, never fumbled in his entire college career. And so that is one thing to watch as the spring turns to the fall for Oregon. Coming up, don't miss softball when Do-It-All superstar Jordy Ball leads 18th ranked Nebraska against Washington. That's next, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. We hope up in Seattle they got the same weather that we've got down here in Eugene today for the spring game. Just some of the notable incoming recruits.
Cooper Perry, that's the guy I want to focus on. Haven't called his name much today, but you talk to the coaching staff and they're like, that guy is the dude. He'll remind you of somebody who's now up in Seattle who played his college football at Eastern Washington. You want to take a guess at that wide receiver?
Cooper Kupp?
Yes. His athleticism, the top receivers in the country, top player in Arizona coming out of high school. I like the young ability, the youthful energy that this receiving core has.
Two-time high school All-American lacrosse player. And another one of the Arizona natives here on this team.
How about this, right?
Huddle.
There's been so many unique eras here at Oregon. I think if you ask a general fan in college football around the country, Oregon football, they'd probably say the Nike swoosh and they'd say up-tempo. But there's a world, again, it's cyclical where you're seeing them huddle. Oh, a little double pass.
And it gets whistled.
Oh, come on.
Not in a spring game. You can't blow that dead.
False start.
But the officials have a job to do.
Yeah, they do. That, I think, was going to be a chance for a big explosive play down the sideline to Cooper Perry. He looked like to be running wide open.
Will Stein before the game, like joking, had some trick plays today.
Yeah.
Actually, we do.
Yeah, look at down the sideline. There's freshman to freshman. Oh, had a shot.
Austin Novosad threw that thing about 75 miles an hour, and DeCorian Moore should get a catch for that. That was a tough catch.
Well, Novosad, he's got a hose. I mean, he can spin it. He's a pure pocket passer. Quarterback room is deep here.
Now, the third quarter, the honorary coaches have the reins. So that's Rich Brooks and Bucky Irving against Nick Aliotti and Christian Gonzalez. So maybe that's why the trick play came out.
Well, they got a little call sheet. They got about 8 calls they can make, which is fun. You know they're going to get excited, right? Anytime you're down there, Kenyon can attest to it. He said it in the open. He asked Coach Lanning if he had some pads for him. Those guys are asking for a headset and a whistle. Like they're always coaching ball.
We do need Kenyon to just appear all of a sudden in pads like Will Compton the other year.
Yeah, just don't get hurt, man. We need you in the season. But again, here's another situation, right? We're backed up. It's 3rd and forever. Draw, screen. But these young guys, you can't have a false start. Like, this is all the things they're navigating.
That is Cooper Perry with the catch and giving the offense of the Fighting Ducks some breathing room. There is the legendary Rich Brooks and Tosh Lupoy. He said, here, take this play sheet back.
I'm done. Good job. Oh, that's awesome, man. And you know what's really been cool about Tosh and Will and, of course, Dan Lanning setting the temperament around it? They've been so welcoming. And here in Eugene, if you ever spent some time here, you know that when the coaches that have been legends, they often retire here. They spend time here. Or they go on to the next phase of their life here. That was Nick Aliotti doing TV for a decade within the Pac-12. He still lives here, so he's still always coming to practice. Coach Brooks, when Coach Bellatti's here, they're always coming and always so welcome. And the assistants are always talking to him. We go to practice, and Tosh is saying, hey, Coach Al, what do you got? Just give me a little element here that I can add, a little wrinkle. What do you see in our drills? And it just speaks to the community of Oregon Ducks all throughout this region.
We saw Bryce Betcher jogging off there, and so he needs this his offense to score some points. Oh, the Big Ten Network helmet making its way around. Perfect time to bring it out. It'll be taking Yogi over to the baseball stadium postgame. We could get that waiting at the bottom of the elevator, the press elevator, to get Yogi over there. That thing is cool.
So is that subtle move right there.
De'Aaron Hill. That is the freshman. We've been waiting to see him today.
Yeah, they talk about his speed. A lot of times you get down on the field level and it's just the subtle moves, and all of a sudden, whoa, these guys have explosive ability. Watch this here on the edge. I think it's going to be a play in the backfield. Nope. So much of a running back guy, especially someone at speed like him, you just want you want to slow everything down a little bit. You don't want to rush through your read, rush through the rush lane, and these freshmen did a nice job being patient today.
Dante Moore, patient, and then it's broken up. Getting a hand in there was Dylan Williams, the redshirt freshman. Kenyon.
That's something that Coach Samp has been trying to get him to understand for this past couple of weeks, and he's picking it up, and you can see it here. This kid's contact balance at the running back spot is elite, so look for that as he gets more carries.
Hey, Kenyon, just start that point again. What were the coaches looking to see from you're talking about De'Aaron Hill?
Just teaching him to slow down, as you stated. It's what running backs would say, slow to, fast through. That's something that Samp has been on him about, and you can kind of see that here as he's getting more carries.
Got it. Okay. Good play there from Jaleel Florence wearing that red jersey, breaking up that touchdown to attempt to Casper. And you heard the point on De'Aaron Hill. The guy had 5,000 rushing yards in high school and 99 touchdowns. You can understand if slow down isn't exactly,
Well, especially when you get in this environment, right? You just want to go. You want to go. And that's a discipline. Kenyon knows it as well as anybody. That was a nice play, though. Good to see Jaleel Florence back on the field. These guys navigated an injury and missed the entire season. You saw his excitement after making the play late on the ball.
Dante Moore this time with some touch and creating space. Jurian Dickey brings it down.
Nice job by Dickey again. These receivers all day long, guy, did a nice job right at the end of the route, just getting a little nudge. Watch his arm right there. Just a little nudge. You don't want to extend it. If you extend it, it's going to get called as offensive pass interference. Just a subtle tap, create a little separation. DB might say that wasn't so subtle. What a play down the field.
And look at the extra effort for the touchdown from Jay Harris.
Everybody's going to have a role this year. Jay Harris's role might be short yardage goal line, a la Cyrus Habibi-Likio. Remember him from back in the day? Same type of deal. Explosive play, up-tempo, get to the line of scrimmage. Nice block from Sadiq. And how about the move right there? And then just leg drive. 1, 2 guys miss, run through a tackle. Jay Harris. You talk about the transfer portal. Northwest Missouri State is where he came from about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, he was a Division II All-American back in 2023. Perlick with the point after. It's a 1-score game. How about how effortless Dante Moore, that deep ball was broken up, and just think back on that play too, how effortless.
Yeah, well, again, I go back to the unique trait, and he could just put the ball in certain locations. He's been able to do it his entire football life. Crowd going wild here. They show Haloti Ngata on the big screen. Got such regard for him and just the way he approaches craft.
Well, baseball coming up over at PK Park. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on Big Ten Plus. The Ducks take on Oregon State. Number 13 Oregon, number 3 Oregon State. Go to Big10Plus.com to subscribe to Big Ten Plus. You got to figure on a day like today, many of these folks are going to make their way over to PK Park and catch a rivalry baseball game. How great you got the rivalry baseball game. You'll have that football game this year as well with Oregon State coming in early. You got to feel a lot of these players, they're going to be buzzing today. It might be hard to fall asleep today. You get a taste of football like this, and then no, you got to wait to really get it fired up again.
Well, big weekend in recruiting as well, with players on campus, and you walk out to the spring game and you see this environment.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool, man. I mean, to your point, spring games are few and far between now, and the ones that have it, especially here in Eugene at Autzen, show out.
Yeah, it's been a tradition through several coaches over the years. Chip Kelly made a point to make the spring game Military Appreciation Day here at Autzen. One of the cool things that they do after the game, and that's why you see these team names, Fighting Ducks and Combat Ducks. It's Military Appreciation. They do a jersey swap with military members and former military after the game on the field. That's pretty cool. All right, so Luke Moga is back out. First time we've seen him here in the second half. The explosively talented redshirt freshman, and he gives it off to Dewan Riggs. Bucky Irving was the comp that Will Stein gave us for Dewan Riggs. Bucky Irving, one of the 2 honorary coaches for the Combat Ducks, the other team, the team wearing black.
And another one of those second-year players, right? Redshirt freshman. There's such a good group here. Remember, this is back-to-back top 5 classes in recruiting for Dan Lanning.
So pressure there, and Zach Grisham, who came on the pressure, is also the man that finishes off the tackle. So Davian Sims, the redshirt freshman, in there as well.
It's been fun to see a lot of the starters out there today as well. Bryce Betcher, he just came off the field, played early part of this drive. Here we are, late third quarter. Mateo Uyunglele still at the top of your screen as an edge rusher.
Moga just throws that away. You know, the great thing about the spring football, just because the spring football game doesn't mean they don't do shout.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
After the third.
That's right.
And before the fourth quarter.
The standard is the standard.
We got that coming up, which is always fun. And we'll see some of that to start the fourth quarter when the Oregon spring game continues. A 4th and 3 coming up. Let's see, they will wait on the punt. before.
This is the end of the third quarter.
The rules are a little loose and fast with the clock here at the spring.
Head coach is making these decisions.
Head coach is making. We got to get to shout. That's coming up as the music starts here in Eugene. You know what I love about Shout is how much everybody gets into it, to the point that the fans have started affecting the players, and the players, and you see it during games, and we saw it here as well during this spring game, the players are into it.
It is one of the core memories you have when you go to a game here at Autzen Stadium. And the timing of it is brilliant, right? Think of, everybody has a game or two that you're not at your best in the season. And if you need a jolt, you get that between the third and fourth quarter in a magnificent way. And I think Dan Lanning has found magnificent ways to just motivate his team, whether it's going on the road to Wisconsin or Michigan and navigating these environments. And they know they have an advantage here when they play Shout amid this student section and incredible crowd.
Well, for a disciplined program, Dan Lanning's not afraid to have fun, right? And you see it. You could be in the biggest game of the year. It's tied, and players are not discouraged from dancing on the sideline. But the real lucky players get a ride in the vintage Bronco that Dan Lanning's been spotted driving around town.
I got to imagine a lot of those are probably big-time recruits. I could take a ride in that to the baseball game, guy, afterwards.
I think seats are pretty limited.
Yeah, pretty limited.
Will Stein told us it is a hot ticket to get a ride in that fully customized, modified, and brought up to 2025 vintage Bronco.
I love it, man. It's just awesome. And it speaks to his personality. He's fun, and he allows everyone to be themselves within the confines of the program. And when you're in that beautiful ride, you could be yourself too within the confines of that beautiful ride.
Sometimes things just line up. He said he's always wanted a classic Bronco. And it turns out the company that makes these classic Broncos, Achilles Smith Jr., and totally modifies them and modernizes them, vintage Bronco, is owned by an Oregon grad.
Yeah, he doesn't have to wait that long, I'd imagine. Oh yeah, let's make it happen. I love it, man. It's been really fun. I got to meet Dan Lanning when he was a graduate assistant at Arizona State, and just to watch his ascension has been, of course, impressive. But his humility within that, and regard for the craft, the people before him, and the standard and the edge his team plays at, is just a really cool mix. It's why he's one of the most popular coaches, I think, in the country. And really, he took a lot of the oxygen, I think, in coaching that left when Nick Saban retired, when Jim Harbaugh went to the NFL. Like, he's a star in the game of college football.
It is amazing. I mentioned, and coaches in their 30s, there are plenty that are having or have had success, no doubt, but at 39. But when he got the job, there was some question. You leave Kirby Smart, who, doesn't that guy run the whole defense? You never called a game before? What kind of impact? And you're right. He's gone quickly from one of the best young coaches in college football to just, without the qualifier, one of the best coaches in college football.
I'll just go back again to the DNA traits: connection, growth, toughness, and sacrifice. And the connection one is, to me, the most impressive. I can recall being here in his very first spring and him saying, I want to do film. I want to be in the Exos, but I have to pour into the players. Okay, fast forward to training camp, same exact message. Same thing now. He knows what wins games. It's that connection. The growth is the growth mindset. I mean, every offseason has his team read a book, whether it's good to great, etc., where they have to have that. And the players echo that. You interview them, you talk to them, they talk about having a growth mindset. It means that you take criticism, you take what they say, the medicine, and absorb it, and then just get better and navigate that.
You know, you make me think back last year, that the great internal kind of YouTube documentary series they did, and you could see the players getting feedback, right? We'll use the word feedback, and receiving it, and that was Dylan Gabriel, right? And you have your best players able to take it, and everybody can take it, and it also applies to the coaches, right? It's a two-way street here.
And here's a third down where you're going to be able to teach a ton off of this exact situation. Akili Smith here in the play call, navigating the play clock, changing the play.
They are using regular season headset communication rules where the headset cuts off at 15 seconds. A throwback complete by the tight end Vander Plug, the freshman, one of the top tight ends in the nation from Southern California.
Well, how about this? Number one, it's third down. Watch him climb the pocket, feel the rush, and then do what you often don't recommend, throw back, but the velocity and the unique traits that Akili Smith Jr. has showed up right there to the other freshman.
Well, you know, you talk about what we've seen on tape from Oregon. One of the things they do is they use the tape from practice with their quarterbacks. They wear cameras on their helmets, and those cameras record audio. And so Will Stein, the offensive coordinator, loves to not just film study off of it, but talk about how are you communicating to your teammates, how are you handling the huddle, all those sorts of things. And he says it's been a real asset for them this year.
Yeah, I think it's one thing to get that view. It's another thing to hear how you communicate, but the third part is I think the most impressive is that he's even mic'd up his quarterback so he could hear how they're calling a play. Like, as you huddle up, there's a style in which you communicate right now. You're Akili Smith Jr., you're calling out a protection, you're resetting a protection, you're making an audible. So are you calling it like it's the greatest play on planet Earth? I mean, that's the demeanor and moxie you need to have in the huddle, or when you're going no huddle like they are right now. And they're able to learn from that. That's the toughness part. Take and handle the coaching.
Smith steps up and gets sacked by Tion Gray, the redshirt freshman, a four-star from last year's class who redshirted.
Yeah, I think even an added benefit of what you reference with having the audio from that camera on the helmet is the offensive line. Like, they can hear their calls. The defensive line can hear their audibles. Like, there's this whole other world that has opened up for the Oregon Ducks coaching staff in terms of teaching the football to a team that has a ton of talent, just not a ton of experience as Oregon Ducks.
It was cool, right? They said it's great for the defensive line because now they can watch themselves from a different angle than they ever watch from. Nick Aliotti, the legendary defensive coordinator here at Oregon, one of the honorary captains today down on the field with Kenya.
Hey guys, here with Coach Aliotti, a man that recruited me to come play at this school. These days, me and you were just having a little bit of conversation. I can see you're still in the mode of a coach. Tell me what you're thinking about the game so far.
You know, it's actually absolutely an honor, Kenyon, to be back here and have an opportunity to do this. I'm thoroughly enjoying the moment. I'm hoping we can finish this thing out up 7 with 9 minutes to go, because I still want to win. It doesn't matter what kind of game it is. I want to win.
Well, listen, what is the most important thing? How are you going about this? What is your mentality? What's your mindset? Are we still old Coach Al? Are we bringing some heat? Or are we going to lay back and let the quarterback live a little bit?
Well, to be honest with you, Kenyon, I'm calling offensive plays, so I haven't had a chance to call a defensive play all night. So I did call a split zone, split belly, and a boot pass, and we were fairly successful. But, yeah, I like bringing heat, but I haven't had a chance to call any of that.
Okay, well, listen, I'm your guy. I need a favor from you. Can I get a sweep to the left?
We're going to ask Will if we can get a sweep to the left.
Coach, you calling the plays. You're supposed to take control.
Well, I got to call 3.
I appreciate you, Coach. Thank you, man.
Kenyon, my pleasure. All my best to all those Ducks out there.
Back to you guys.
He's awesome. I mean, he's just one of those spirits that if you get around Coach Aliotti like we have, he just lights you up. I mean, I remember coaching in this stadium and getting in the elevator, you know, because Coach Al was up in the press box, you know, as a defense coordinator calling the defense for Chip Kelly. And I was so nervous because you're next to Coach Al. And I'm like, should I talk to this guy? And he goes, hey, son, what's your name? And from that moment on, like, Coach Aliotti, that's just an exemplary example of who he is. He's endearing to anyone who meets him. He showers light and love on everyone around him. And talk about success. There's not a more successful defensive coordinator you could argue in college football. He gets calls all across the country. to come teach the game. And I know Dylan Thieneman, he had calls coming in from all across the country when he hit the transfer portal, but he said, I want to go to a place that can develop transfers. He's seen guys like Christian Gonzalez and company come here, then to the NFL. And since he showed up, the playmaking ability you just also showed up, but it's been the things in the facility. You talk to the staff. He's in at 5 a.m. At first, he's like, let me just go do the work. And by the end of spring, he's become vocal. He's become a leader. He has reset the standard in the DB room. Clearly, he's a talented player. And for a position group guy that has to replace everybody, it's not as scary, worrisome as it once was when you knew those guys were going to depart to the next level. You got a guy like that who's just an absolute stud coming in to this program.
I mean, you just think he led all Big Ten DBs in tackles last year. How rare. It's been several years. He's the only defensive player to be the freshman of the league in the year, freshman of the year in the league for a stretch. It was, Jeremiah Smith won that award last year. He won it in 2023. You know, he was a 3-star once upon a time.
Yeah.
You know, the 3-stars don't often come here as freshmen, recruited out of high school, but you put together the tape he did, and all of a sudden, you know, he's expected to be an instant impact guy for this team.
And he's going to be. And I think when you look at him, this is a guy who dreamt about going to Purdue, right? His siblings went to Purdue. He goes to Purdue, and the staff gets let go, and he decides to make a move. And he said he looked at the track record. Think of Evan Williams, Kyrie Jackson, Jabbar Muhammad, reference Christian Gonzalez, all guys in the back end that transferred in and became better players by the time they left. And his impact, see a little sack there in the back, his quarterback drops back, but the impact to me has really stood out. So here's a quote from Bryce Betcher. He said Bryce was in the facility at 5:50 a.m. and he said that Dylan Thieneman was already in the facility, sweating, warming up, and just already saying, oh, well, the standard is different. Like, you think 5:50 is early. I've been here by 5 a.m. And it has, I think, impacted a lot of these transfers. Bear Alexander on his third school, another opportunity for him. We've talked about Theron Johnson throughout the day in the back end.
And Jadon Kennedy also on his third school. You saw his name on that list from Tulane. His 5th year, 2 years at Ole Miss. Started last year at Ole Miss, and now here at Oregon, trying to help, you know, fill the hole of a secondary that replaces both corners, nickel, and both safeties.
Yeah, and I think Kennedy's got a chance to really be that nickel for this team. And remember, Coach Chris Hampton, who's the co-DC, he coached him at Tulane. So there was prior relationships there. And all these guys come in mission-minded to this back end. You know, Theron Johnson, Thieneman, Kennedy, all transfers. Peyton Woodyard, remember, he started at Alabama, transferred in last year. So
as a freshman,
left
after Nick Saban retired.
So size, ability, veteran experience.
Moga, that one goes sailing behind Malik Benson, who's trying to keep it away from the defender. Now it's 4th down.
But I just want to go back to the Thieneman thing. Like, when you come in sometimes and you're a heralded portal guy, you can have one of two attitudes. One is like, I've arrived, you're lucky to get me. And 2 is, let me endear myself to everybody. You know who's done the latter?
For over 130 years. Banner Bank, FDIC.
5 receivers around. Dylan Thieneman, I don't know if he's gotten the van yet. He'd probably just ride with Coach Lanning in that sweet ride if he wanted to. But point being, he's endeared himself to his teammates, and that is why he's going to be a dominant player in this league, if not the entire country, at the safety position.
Dylan Gabriel fit all the receivers in that van. He got a whole quarterback room in Cleveland he can put in the van now.
Hey, how about that?
False start. 38.
By the way, Nick Aliotti wanted everyone to know after the spring game's done, his football competition is done, but he can be found 4 days a week at Eugene Country Club if anyone's looking for a game.
Oh, man. I love that those guys are around. I mean, often these legendary coaches sometimes don't stay in the community they became legends in, and they go move somewhere else. That's what's really special about this area.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of, there's some huge names. Don Pelham. You think of Gary Campbell, Mark Helfrich. I mean, guys that have had a real impact on this program are still around this community throughout the majority of this year.
Well, you think about the league that we have, right, in the Big Ten. On the West Coast, a college football college town is hard to find, and this is one. This is the biggest show in town.
Yeah. And I know for Gary Bryant.
And it's a big show.
Yeah, Gary Bryant, I think he's got a chance to be really one of the frontline players within that show this season. I think he's going to have a standout season. He's finally healthy. He's the glue in that room. And remember, they had to find a new receivers coach. Junior Adams went to the Dallas Cowboys, and Ross Douglas comes from Syracuse, previously the New England Patriots. And again, one of my biggest takeaways from today is this receiving core, the little things have really stood out to me. Top of routes, getting out of routes.
And making a tough catch. That's Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end.
How about the athleticism? It's almost like he jumped behind the DB to go make that play as he's running full speed down the field on a deep crossing route. You see it coming right to left. He's looking like a wide receiver flexed out as a tight end. Doesn't trip. Gets tripped up a little bit. The athleticism, the ability to stay upright, and then to snag it. You don't want to put too much on players, but it's worthy. It's worthy. He should be a preseason All-American candidate.
Pressure and a sack. Whoa. That was Brandon Finney, the freshman from Maryland, a top 40 recruit, coming off the edge and getting to the quarterback very quickly.
Yeah, he and Matthew Johnson, another young player, freshman who's at an impactful spring.
Johnson, the top defensive lineman out of California.
Top and bottom of the screen, and that one would have hurt.
That's why the quarterback's not live.
Yeah, thankfully to him. Yeah. But it's a speed off the edge, and Tony Tuioti is such an impressive individual and clearly been dramatically productive coaching the majority of this defensive line.
There's Sadiq again, and he puts a shoulder in. Credit to Aaron Flowers for hanging on, taking a big hit from the tight end.
I mean, just imagine, right? Again, today is a vanilla offense. And they're finding ways to get Kenyon Sadiq the rock in space. He's a true tight end. Here's look at the end of it. Shoulder down. Great contact right there. But he can put his hand in the dirt. He can run block. He can be an H-back and line up in the backfield. We've seen him line up at wide receiver the majority of this drive. And he's looking like a wide receiver on his route, whether it's a deep route or shifting north and south after he catches the rock. Now he lines up as your true tight end, hand in the dirt. I mean, the versatility. How do you defend that? I mean, just putting so many defensive coordinators in an absolute bind.
Double back, Aaron. Go right, Aaron. Go right.
Brock Thomas setting up the trick play. It's Jeremiah McClellan into traffic. A flag comes in. They're trying to get it to Sadiq.
Well, on one hand, you love these trick plays. You want to try them. On the other hand, Jeremiah McClellan might have thrown his last pass as a duck.
Well, you know, here's the question. Because you mentioned it, it's, you know, vanilla offense. There's a lot of reasons people don't want to play spring games. One thing they don't want to do is put out tape. Which means that anything you put on tape, like a trick play, is intentionally...
Yeah, you got to practice against it.
On tape.
Yeah. Like, look at you with the theories. Draft weekend, you got theories all day.
I'll tell you, I do love a back foot throw.
Trying to turn two, like the baseball diamond, man. Oh, how about this? 5 wides inside the red zone. This is awesome if you're a quarterback.
4th and goal, a 4th and 5.
Got to go for it based on the situation.
Sadiq's in the slot. Thomas, good protection. And throws complete. That is caught. Ball came out late, and that is Justice Lowe.
That's impressive. Thomas put the only place he can. Front shoulder roll. You're taught when the ball is low. You want to roll over that front shoulder so the ball can come on top of your belly. And Justice Lowe is a guy the staff's really high on. They think he has a chance to be an all-conference type of player. Can he replace the productivity that Tez Johnson has left behind in the slot? And a nice job of moving the sticks there.
So now 1st down and goal.
And you want to know the clock here too, right? You got the 2-minute timeout upcoming.
And the Combat Ducks take the lead.
I like the aggressive approach.
Now the Fighting Ducks, they had the lead most of this game, Yogi.
Yeah.
And respond here to adversity in the last 2:10.
How about this offensive front?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Emmanuel Pregnon, the transfer from SC. Because this is a game of teams, we're seeing what you would consider quote-unquote first-teamer starters playing all the way to the end of this game.
I think Dan Lanning's kind of been old school to a certain degree of like, to get better at football, you got to play football. And part of that is why they have physical practices on Tuesdays during the season. And I think when you look at the longevity of what college football is, yes, you want to be peaking in late August before your first game, but like you also want to be peaking in late November as you got a potential playoff run in front of you.
Coming up 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on Big Ten Plus, the Ducks take on their rival Oregon State in a top 15 matchup. Go to BigTenPlus.com to subscribe to Big Ten Plus. Great day for baseball. Number 3 against number 13. And that's what you get to say here. And a great day for football. Yogi's going to go catch the first few innings. I've been joking about the first pitch, but I'm serious about you going to catch a few innings. 2 hot dogs.
You know me too well. Look at the Duck. He'll be over there for sure. The motorcycle hopefully rolls over as well. But it's so fun, right? You came here with your family. You wanted to see an amazing day and watch the defending Big Ten champs show out in the spring with so much intrigue, with so many new faces. Spring game almost over, and you're just going to roll on over. Check out a rivalry baseball.
Town was buzzing. I mean, we went, you go out to dinner last night, go to breakfast today, and it did. It felt like a game day today walking around downtown Eugene this morning.
Your point about a college town, there's advantages everywhere, right? College towns, big cities, we see it all across the Big Ten, coast to coast. But in the college towns, like when something's happening in the college town, you're showing up for it, man.
Yeah. There's a 5K run this morning, so town got up early.
Oh, where were you?
I was eating a big breakfast.
Yeah, that's right. In town tomorrow. Oh no! Ball out. No, he said he's down.
I don't know. The one thing you miss in a spring game is the review system. Coming up, don't miss softball when do-it-all superstar Jordy Ball leads 18th ranked Nebraska against Washington. That's coming up next on Big Ten Network and Fox Sports app. Poor Mike Pereira, Well, you fill a stadium for a spring football game because expectations are high. And this is the schedule ahead.
Yeah, they're going to fill it up every time they open it up next fall. Oklahoma State, that's going to be an incredible non-conference game. You got the Beavs coming down, rivalry. You go to Penn State, and again, I love where the byes are situated. Different than last year for this team to take a shot.
And a flag comes in. That ball was caught out of bounds, but flagged. If that's on the defense, if that's on Dorian Brew, that's a big play for the Fighting Ducks here, trying to come back after leading most of this game. Yogi down by 3 in 2-minute offense.
Yeah, I love that call. Just trying to see if you get a penalty, throw it up, see if the stage, the environment can impact the defensive back. We see this in the regular season all the time. You'll see this at the top of the screen. Luke Moga's been impressive. Deep balls down the field. Yeah, and that's a classic for a young DB. You got to turn and look. You got to turn and look. If not, it's going to be called every single time. Another great coaching opportunity for Tosh Lupoi on the back end.
This is the last chance. This is the last practice of the spring. This is the last chance to work. And Dan Lanning really relishes this opportunity here in 2-minute offense. Vacation has not started yet. And, this is a moment for this offense and this defense to get some work. And look at what they do. They get it into the hands of DeCorian Moore, the 5-star freshman.
Well, they're absolutely doing all the right things, right? They're signaling in plays, they're talking in, they're protecting the signals on the sidelines. But it does feel, to your point, exactly like a 2-minute drill. Got to know the timeout situation. 3 timeouts for the offense, none left for the defense. A big advantage with $1:30 left.
Luke Moga throws complete. That's Gresham. Gresham is free, and and he puts the Fighting Ducks back on top. Moga right on the money.
This was incredible, and not just from Gresham, but you see the replay. It's Cooper Perry, 17. Watch him run the slant. He opens up that second window on the slant. And why do you call slants? Not for conversions to get a first down, but you throw slants to score. And Gresham takes this one to the house.
56 yards for the score. Redshirted last year, the 4-star recruit in 2024. And a big moment here in the spring game.
Yeah, and again, look at the slot. Cooper Perry, the heralded freshman recruit at wideout. He opened it up. I'll tell you what, Luke Moga, people wanted to question, hey, am I just an athlete or am I a passer? Today he answered it. He's a passer.
And so now the Combat Ducks are going to have an opportunity to try to get down. Yeah, but it is a 4-point game, so they're going to need a touchdown. Meanwhile, Nebraska-Washington softball up in Seattle is underway. We'll get you over to that as soon as we conclude here the spring game. And you can watch on the Fox Sports app as well.
This is awesome, man. Situational football.
Yeah, if you're a quarterback right now, you're like, I get these reps, right? I get this last 120. Who's it going to be?
And now you flip the situation, right, with where the timeouts lie right now. Combat Ducks down.
They got all three of their timeouts. There's Moga and Novosad, so celebrating with Dwan Riggs.
It's interesting, the score bug in the stadium has no timeouts. So it's the spring game, right? Like the rules can adjust as necessary.
That's right. Dan Lanning, credit to the coaches. They said they made the teams to get an even game. Looks like they know their team pretty well because we got an even game. Dante Moore. Chance to lead his team down now and answer. And so here we go, 1:16, 1:15, and flexible amount of timeouts left
this
for Dante Moore.
This is exactly what you would see in a real game, right? Situation, you're backed up on your own 20-yard line. You need a touchdown. So in practice, every coach is trying to script, Dan Lanning as well, script specific situations every day. So what's the rule here? No sacks, no picks. Right, you want to make sure that you are in control of the clock. Do you have command? I like the early shift. Kenyon Sadiq try to give a little indicator for the quarterback what the defense will do.
Dante Moore moving the pocket, finding space and hitting Kyle Casper for a big gain out to midfield.
That was impressive. I thought he would take a shot to Justice Lowe. He ran a deep post. Casper underneath. Reads his progression. Watch, you're thinking he's going to go high to low. Says, nope, let me throw to a man on the run. Perfect location. Casper down. Chains move.
And now whistles and flags.
This is a false start.
False start.
Yep.
71 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, still first down. Oregon has taken their second time out of the half to avoid the 10 seconds of track. Clock will start on the snap.
I think he said they took a timeout there. Was that part of that announcement? Okay.
All right, so that's Alex Harkey, new face, one of the transfer offensive linemen. I love a couple different places.
So I love that Dan Lanning is really sticking to the rules here. Like, we're going to use the timeout to avoid the runoff.
Well, you got to teach Dante Moore. You got to teach these guys how to navigate the rules within the confines of the 2-minute drill.
Strong tackle from Will Stratton After they get a few of those yards back, it's Jay Harris on the catch.
Okay, so now it's all communication. Got to line up, get the play from the sideline, get it to your headset, communicate to the receivers, now read the coverage.
Moore gets it out quickly to Sadiq, who's tackled inbounds by Aaron Flowers, and the clock continues to run.
Dante Moore, as the clock continues to tick, calls out the play.
Third down. And his arm gets hit as he throws. It goes sailing out of bounds. And you hope that he's okay. Looks like he got the forearm, not the hand.
That was Harry
Final
Washington
time out of the half.
on the pressure.
Oregon team comeback.
That's what you're trying to
30 seconds
avoid here.
ago.
Let's see where he gets hit.
Ooh,
that was pretty close to the hand.
Yeah, lucky everything is all right in that regard. But here we go with the situation. It's a fourth down, game on the line. To me, you're finding a way to get the man who's really been the starter today, Kenyon Sadiq, away to get the ball in his hand. So it's a little bit of motion. Maybe it's a shift. Excuse me, third down.
Sadiq is at the top. And Dante Moore is looking the other way. And will just heave it into traffic. And it's intercepted by Aaron Flowers. And he'll go down.
And
This is the end of the
I
fourth
think how
quarter.
this one is going to end.
And the Fighting Ducks beat the Combat Ducks, the defending Big Ten champions, with a fun day here in Eugene. Coming up, it's Nebraska and Washington softball. We'll send you to Seattle right now. Chris Foster's and Sydney Supley.